Hi everyone, so this is the genre paradox and basically how one set of rules can create infinite amount of games. So this is basically our table of contents and everything. So what is a genre? Um, Basically we'll be discussing on how the mechanics and aesthetics surrounding older titles will transform over time and how concepts will diverge to create entirely different products that spawn from the same ideas. But what is a genre? It is a category of artistic, musical, or literary composition characterized by a particular style, form, or content. But what does it really mean? Like, and how does this apply to games? So, a genre is basically a concept. Genre as a concept is a term that is designated for consumers to describe media with similar traits, and it can also be used for creatives to try and make a media like it and explore concepts and practices surrounding a certain type of media. Um, One of these examples could be like hero slash class shooters such as Overwatch, Team Fortress 2, and Marvel Rivals, as they all have selectable characters with like different kinds of abilities or like gameplay styles that are all like in a unique way. Another example would be like as of now, currently, extraction shooters like how it all started from Escape from Tarkov to Arc Raiders to kind of like PUBG's most recent release. Forgot the name of it. And yeah.
So for this presentation, we're specifically going to be delving deep into the genre of RPGs because it's a very incredibly vague name for a genre. We want to explore various mechanics of games and of these games to better understand how these older mechanics can branch off into new mechanics. But first, we're going to go over a quick history lesson and talk about some tabletop role-playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons, because modern RPGs are heavily inspired by older TTRPGs and war games. D&D was created in 1974. It's based off of Gary Gygax's Chainmail. Um, it was basically the foundational setting for RPGs going forward. It created many of the mechanics that would go on to be very instrumental in the genre's definition, such as leveling up a character, creating characters in general, turn-based RPG combat, using having multiple people in a party, creating party composition, and dungeon crawling mechanics. Character creation is arguably the most important factor in most RPGs, as it's creating a character that allows you to immerse yourself into situations, settings, and conflicts. Turn-based combat is also an important part of war games. It allows both sides in order to make a fair decision and make decisions properly for a fair encounter. It carried over into TTRPGs from war games, and eventually that carried into RPGs and digital RPGs. Party composition is an important part of many RPGs. Having a non-balanced selection of characters means that you'll be less balanced for any situation. Having a balanced composition means that you have tools for every situation. Um, and dungeon crawling is less important for RPGs specifically because it kind of branched off into its own genre nowadays, but it's often paired with RPG for similar elements. Um, the unexpected rise of TTRPGs kind of inspired a lot of game developers in the future to look to that for inspiration for more digital games.
So we'll be going over a ver selection of like various RPGs and discussing some of their premier mechanics and going on to touch on as many important aesthetics that they may carry over. And one of them would be Skyrim. So Skyrim is one of those most famous games of all time, and it was one of the best-selling games at its time for sure. And it's one we have all talked, more or less talked about in this class. You have almost complete control over where you want to walk. From the moment you exit like the tutorial area, like you get to choose your side. You get to choose who you want to escape with, whether you want to be the Stormcloaks or the Imperials. And you start off basically with the iconic scene is you all start off with that iconic scene in the carriage, and after that you basically start begin with your character customization, and you can go off. of the races that you choose from, and it will kind of determine on on sometimes how some people would interact with you, whether they would hate you or not hate you. Um, and a lot of these races could also have like different kinds of abilities. And Skyrim basically has a elaborate quest system that can span across the entire map. You have control over how you want to tackle these quests when you decide them, and the pacing of the story is in your complete control. There are several characters in the world that you can progress the quest of, eventually becoming recruitable companions. Um, the Persona series is one of the more well-known and famous Japanese RPGs or JRPGs, with the release of Persona 5 in 2016, bringing up a new level of proper popularity to the franchise. And but mainly we're gonna be diving into Persona 4 because we played that one and don't know 5 that well, unfortunately. You basically play a as a character who's new to the town of Inaba, and you're staying with your uncle and young cousin. You and your friends basically discover a hidden world spurred by collective consciousness, and that is someone is using to commit the murders. And you delve into these dungeons to save the people from the mysterious murder mystery. The whole campaign is basically tracked on a schedule for a limited time span. And one of the most important aspects of the Persona franchise is the combination of classical RPG elements and the social simulator and visual novel elements that of day-to-day life. Um, the usage of various damage type is prevalent throughout the series as enemies are weak to some and resistant to others, and physical damaging skills could consume health points, HP, instead of SP, which is fairly unique to Persona. And yeah.
I love talking about Elden Ring. Elden Ring and the Dark Souls franchise are games created by From Software, and they're notorious action RPGs renowned for their difficulty and malicious level design, which are meant to catch overconfident players unaware and keep them humble. In all these games, you start off with a character basically at the very bottom of the barrel. You get stronger as you progress through the game, and eventually you basically fight gods. One of the most important aspects of these games is the variety of build and equipment. You can put a level into a singular stat at every level up, gradually increasing your strength and allowing you to use certain types of weapons and items and spells. Each type of weapon has a unique move set. Some individual weapons have unique individual aspects to them. All equipable items have a base stat requirement to them in order to properly use them, dealing significantly less damage unless you don't meet if you don't meet those stats. You can't cast spells that you don't have requirements for. This kind of changes how you're supposed to approach levels because you're kind of limited how you progress. Do you go for more HP and vigor to survive more easily, or do you put levels into your damaging stats to equip stronger weapons, spells, and do more damage in general? At the same time, build variety is entirely optional if you're just good enough at the game. Souls-likes are a game of skill at the end of the day. And you could realistically progress through the entirety of the game without leveling a single time if you really wanted to, as leveling is entirely within the player's hands. Player knowledge and skill take priority over having a really strong build. And lastly, we're talking about Disco Elysium. Admittedly, I don't know too much about this personally. I played it very little a long time ago, but I'm going to do my best. At the start of the game, you place your levels into a series of various traits beneath four specific groups known as intellect, psyche, physique, and motorics. Um, This game is a little bit more different from the other ones because it has less direct conflict and more about social conflicts. There are six skills beneath each of these groups total for a total of 24 skills, and each of these skills apply to various skill checks when you're exploring the world, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. Some skill checks are passive, they'll give you extra information, others can be retried, and some of them have pretty bad effects if you fail them. There is no direct combat into the game. Instead, your physical and mental health can be damaged by failing various checks. Um, Anecdotally, I decided to kill myself because an 8-year-old shouted mean curse words at me and I lost the game and I had to restart because of that. It definitely falls further into the roleplay aspect of the genre, as the actions you choose or fail have direct consequences in how you progress through the game and its story.
Okay, so this is like
We might not have
basically,
enough time for this.
yeah, because I have to boot up the game and everything. Professor, is it okay if I can just like
Yeah, go
Um,
ahead and see what you can do in like the couple minutes that we have. And I mean, don't feel like you need to do the whole demo.
Yeah, we're gonna be demoing Fallout New Vegas. Um, Steven's gonna be playing it. I'll do my best to commentate. I don't know too much about the game personally, but we're gonna pray that it doesn't crash within the like 3 minutes we'll have to go through it. Um, there are some things about it that we specifically want to talk about that carry over from what's it called? The previous mechanics that we discussed. This game has a very unique form of stat leveling system where you put it into a select, I think it's like seven individual stats that make up the anagram special.
You've been on
Um,
hold a couple of days now. Why don't you just relax a second? Get your bearings.
right now, I believe he's creating a character,
How about your name?
I
yeah,
believe.
just waiting for the
Yeah.
cutscene to be over.
So he's gonna be playing as a character called Idg.
I can't say
Um,
what I'd have picked for you, but if that's your name, that's your
this
name.
I think he's in like a tutorial area right now where he
Now, I hope you
will
don't
get
mind
to explore this little room that he's in a moment and
noggin.
become a little more familiar with the base controls.
I take pride in my needlework, but you'd better
You
tell
know,
me
the moment this guy stops talking.
the place. How'd I do?
So here we have a
Well,
relatively basic
I
character
didn't say
creator, so you
nothing
can
mattered.
customize what your character looks like.
You bet
I
I
don't
won't.
think it applies too much into
Let's
how the
see
game works.
what you
It's
want
more of
to
a personal thing.
Good. Why don't you walk down to the end of
You
the
get a really nice close-up of this guy's face.
there. Take it slow now. It ain't a race.
And you get to go around, explore. You get to interact with various
Figure test.
doodads in the various room.
Quick if you got back all your faculties.
Those look a little like D&D stats, are they?
Yeah, in some way they basically are, and each one basically plays a good like important role, especially when you're doing like other things like charisma is like more or less for if you want to barter and everything. Intelligence is for hacking. It's basically a lot like D&D, yeah. Except you don't roll a dice. It's more like
Hmm.
the skills.
It's like spending the stat points, and so you have
Yeah.
like a budget, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty standard score there, but after what you've been through, I'd say that's great news. Well, we know your vitals are good, but that don't mean them bullets didn't leave you nuttered and a bighorn dropping. What do you say you take a seat in my couch and we go through a couple of questions? See if your dogs are still barking.
So this one's like kind of like it also plays into your like your stats as it also this can also play into like your
All
stats and
right.
like especially your
I'm
skills.
gonna say a word.
Um,
I want you to say the
the
first thing
answers
that
you
comes
give
to
will
mind.
also
Dog.
apply to it.
House.
So you basically get to like choose which option and it also like
Night.
influences it.
Bandit.
Okay, I'm gonna suggest thinking about winding down here. If you have, I realize this is really cut short. I apologize for that. If you want to record this later and
Well,
include
I got a
a
feeling.
longer demo, that's fine.
I actually have a demo. I just didn't know where to post it because I couldn't post it into Discord because it was like 18 minutes long.
Yeah. Is it is it like on YouTube or something?
No. Do you want me to post that? Do you want me to like post on my university email or any email?
Yeah, the thing with video is I recommend that you post it onto YouTube, and like it can be unlisted or something like that if you want. But YouTube spent millions of dollars like making sure that they could reach every device.
Yeah. So
So if you
just
guys want to go ahead and wind down and give us some closing thoughts here.
Yep. We have a last audience participation slide.
Oh, nice.
Um, Just asking some questions. So like what kinds of games do you like? What are similarities between them? Even like they don't need to be of the same genre because a lot of the times different genres have similarities between them anyways. There's plenty of my apologies, my headset cut out there. There are plenty of other genres that show this variety. What kind of genres are they? Does genre even like matter anymore? Because a lot of the things are in the modern age are kind of hybrids between two separate genres, or just don't fall into any specific genre at all anymore. Um, and what kind of games classify as specific genres through their mechanics alone? Um, we were talking about it, discussing things that classify quote unquote as RPGs just through some very, very loose mechanics, such as Umumusume Pretty Derby technically counting as an RPG if we specifically look at like character progression, leveling, and builds.
So, what I would ask is, like when we were, I don't remember which video it was, but it was one of the extra credits videos. And I think it was one there they started to talk about aesthetics of play. Do we see a connection between genre and aesthetics, like particularly MDA aesthetics? You were talking about mechanics, and I realize that there is sort of like kind of a general sort of like definition of the types of mechanics that are involved with it, or like there's like a certain set. Does that do you think that aesthetics compare to genre?
I think there are definitely a lot that do. Uh, Taking RPGs once again, there's usually a very big emphasis on story and narrative. A lot of the times RPGs are very long games and with a lot of various different quests in between them. So you have a lot of time to really explore a world for the discovery aspect and a lot of time to learn more about the characters and who you're playing with for the narrative aspect or aesthetic.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and pause.